need to learn as, Americans is just to like have a collective mindset of, even though I don't directly benefit from this, I can still support this policy. And that's something that I think goes into so many different issues of just, how do I benefit from this? How does this affect me? And that's really not what's important sometimes. Why, like, we need to be able to somehow convince people, no, this doesn't benefit you, but it benefits other people, and you should support this purely because, this could help another person. And it's interesting messaging because you're trying to convince somebody of something, but also trying to change the mindset and the perspective through which they see everything. And that's really challenging. But I'm rambling. But all this to say, Taken was making incredibly good points. I agree.
I always talk about the importance of the collective. Like, people don't understand the nature of collective. When you start talking like that, they start calling you names, and all that stuff. You're a socialist, you're a communist. But one of the things that people never really look at, and this is one of the things I think about just with gun culture in general, and people always want to come up with sort of like policy fixes for issues that are so much bigger than that. But one of the biggest things is we don't have a feeling of collective in this country. We don't care about each other in this country. Like, that's not something that we do. And so it's so much more fathomable that we have so much more violence in this country. And all of these things that we're talking about that would build a better collective would also then inherently decrease any sort of violence, because when people are more connected in a collective, they tend to have more respect for other people. Like, it's just this huge societal shift that needs to happen in terms of how we see things.
And I think that's the biggest miss right now with the gun issue that a lot of people are not talking about, as far as I can tell. And that is, economic anxiety will absolutely drive people to their breaking point. And when you think about how is it that we could get to a point where people actually want to take up arms and hurt kids, it's like, no, there is no logic to it, because there's no more logic to the person. This has become
hurt people, hurt people.
Hurt people, hurt people.
And we've got a lot of people in this country that are very, very hurt and broken. And I think that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah, we also, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay.
We also don't have good systems, though, to talk about trauma and or address trauma. I mean, I think what you're talking about, I completely agree with that. Hurt people. And like, we have all these systems that make it so that when someone is hurt, either, number one, they're a cis male, and we have this structure of masculinity where they can't talk about being hurt. They can't, ask for help. They can't seek help. They can't cry, or they're seen as non-masculine. Or we have these stigma surrounding mental health. We have, barriers to access for mental health treatment and or medication. And so I think, like, to take it, yes, hurt people, and like, we just don't even have a vocabulary or really any systems for talking about hurt, for talking about pain, without immediately going to this place of like, stigma. And I think even on a broader level, like trauma of like Indigenous genocide or of racism or of, the way that Black folks are treated in America, like we haven't even begin to address this trauma. And I think that until we start to talk about that, it's not like hurt people are going to continue hurting people, I guess, until we're able to talk about and respond to trauma and to hurt.
Yeah.
I can remember, this is anything against you, but I'm actually, I came up in the internet age. So I went to high school right around the time where it started to become a thing. I was a sophomore when
I was still chiseling on stone.
Yeah, there you go. I was a sophomore in high school when Columbine happened. And I think what's kind of unifying in the sense of like where you find, I mean, you even said one of the most common elements of the mass shooters is
young white men.
Well, but again, there's a unifying issue there, and it's not just white men. They are the most for sure, but the unifying issue is very bad relationships with women, violence.
60% of them have histories of violence in their families, domestic violence situations in their families. And that never gets dealt with properly. And then we also know that there's loopholes. That's another problem. But they're all young. All the people that you're talking about are under the age, like 18 and under, and white men. Boys.
Well, I think that 18 and under piece also is something that needs to be just thought about more. Because like when we talk about kind of the issues in America in general, I think a lot of times folks are like, well, older folks who are standing in the way will be gone soon. And then, you know, Gen Z will be in charge and like everything will be rainbows and butterflies. But like, as we've seen lately, that's not the case. Like there are a lot of young folks in this country who do have like a lot of, you know, white supremacist ideologies and also like have these really dangerous, I don't know, just thought processes and beliefs. And so I think just latching onto that piece, like I would really urge folks to also consider the fact that like Gen Z is not, we can help with everything that's going wrong, but we're as a whole, like things aren't going to be perfect just because Gen Z is in charge, and we still all have to be doing the work and all have to be pushing forward regardless of which generation is you know leading the work, I guess.
There is something to be said for the culture that is created online. It can be very, very devastating. One of the reasons why it's so pathetic that there is so much of attention in such a negative way being thrown to the LGBTQ community, specifically trans people, is they're already mentally fragile to begin with. If you add in the element of constant beratement that comes from social media, there's a reason why, you know, there's so many stories about suicide. I mean, talk about one of the biggest problems when it comes to access to guns is, you know, people, I mean, I can see it and I have very thick skin, but my God, I mean, I see some things online where people just go to town and it's in such a cruel way. There's such a lack of decency. It's all about, you know, I guess what you would call like style points because you're trying to look cool to certain people. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like or how difficult it is right now to go to high school at this particular time. And when everyone is online and you make the wrong move and God knows what can happen. Have you guys seen that type of thing? Would you say that there is, it's very difficult nowadays, especially with everything that's going on, to kind of navigate the whole social media sphere and people feeling like they're, you know, being left out or they're being targeted, you know, inappropriately? I mean, I could easily see that being an issue, but you know, I'm not living it. I'm not living with what you guys are living through. So I am curious as to how you see it.
My job is on social media. And I have about 116,000 followers, and that comes with a lot of love in the comment section, but it also comes with a lot of negativity too. And, you know, at 17 years old, when I started my account, I had to deal with death threats at the worst of it, but, you know, hate comments and just people who like do not see me as a human being. And I think that's what really is at the heart of the social media issue is we've objectified and we've, you know, failed to see the people who we're scrolling through as legitimate human beings who have feelings. And I've personally faced the effects of that. So yeah, without question, social media has become a huge issue. And, you know, I'm, you know, have a big platform, but even for, you know, young kids in high school are experiencing it as well.
Yeah, I think this is where things were better when I was a kid, because I got to tell you, it's like if you were going to talk crap, it was to someone's face. It was there was no hiding between the internet. And if you went too far, you'd get punched. Like that would be it. And that's how things got handled. It wasn't, and people weren't as cruel, as easily cruel because they can't hide behind a screen. I don't know. I just think that that's a huge reason why people don't connect. I think people in your generation have more connections that are less deep. You've got more or less meaningful connections because you don't spend the same FaceTime, the same one-on-one time. It's all this. They even in the same room. They're sitting there texting each other in the same room. Like I truly believe that
social media is our greatest asset and it's our greatest detriment at the same time. There are many great things that we can do with it, and there's also a lot of bad things that could be done with it.
People are mean. Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.